Fulfillment and enrichment are words that are thrown around a lot now in dog training and probably sound a little bit fluffy and a little bit woolly when you see it on someone's Instagram post or whatever. You need to be enriching your dog. So, what is enrichment and why is it important? I'm going to give you some tips that you can use that you can implement straight away, super easy things that you can implement into your dog's life, which will increase enrichment and fulfillment. There's an old myth of a tired dog is a good dog. That has some legs in the sense that if your dog has been fully exercised and had a chance to get that physical activity out, they are less likely to practice unwanted behaviours. Obviously, a key point is you're creating an athlete. By increasing the exercise, you're essentially saying to the dog, the only way that I can give you an outlet for these behaviours is by running you more. Your dog's capacity for volume, same as like a human being who's training for an ultra marathon, their capacity will get better and better, and they'll be absolute cardio kings and be able to keep going for longer and longer. And unless you've got 3 hours a day to walk your dog, probably a little bit of a route to nowhere, just trying to tire them out all the time. That also only ticks one of their boxes, which is physical exercise and exertion. So I want you to reframe how you think about exercise when it comes to fulfillment as just one part of the puzzle. An exercised dog isn't a fulfilled dog. Also, a fulfilled dog needs to be an exercised dog. So the two, it's important, but it's not the whole puzzle. I think fulfillment is allowing the dog to be a dog, and sometimes you have to structure that a little bit for them because they're in our human world and they don't have the capacity to think up these ideas on their own. What they think is fun is the most important. So we can't tell a dog what they like doing, but we can give them opportunities. We can take them to tennis club, football club, rugby club, cricket club, and see which one they prefer. So we can do that with our dogs and see whether you love sniffing, or you love that stalking and chasing bit, or you love a good fight and a bite on a rope toy and a game of tug of war. Lots of dogs will like all of it. Lots of dogs will just really focus on bits of it, and that can be breed specific. But without getting too technical with it, let's just find out what their favourite hobby is and what they like doing. Why is this important? So I think dogs are, for the most part, under-enriched and under-fulfilled. If you think about how dogs have to fit into our lifestyles, like we're often busy, we've got full-time jobs, maybe children, maybe our own social engagements, maybe we're working 2 jobs. You know, it's said that having a dog is like having another part-time job in terms of like time that you need to allow to give your dog the life that it deserves and the attention that it deserves. There are a lot of people who think that the dog should be able to just settle in the house all day, go for a walk around the block, and that should be happy. Lots of dogs do that. Their level of expectation of you is quite low in terms of like what they think they're going to get out of you. So we can increase that quite quickly and quite easily with a few little tips. Now, I link this directly to like behavior change and problem behaviors, because I think a lot of the time we see a problem with the dog and we try to find a solution to that exact problem. And it actually tends to be a more holistic issue in the sense that the dog is not getting suitable outlets to practice some of the behaviors it wants. That holistic change does tend to help with behavior problems more specifically. So sometimes the actual behavior that you want to change is not always the thing that we'd work on first, because you would meet some other needs and then you would see that unwanted behavior decrease as a result of that. So it's kind of an indirect thing. This is a domestic captive dog problem that we've got, and lack of outlet for behavior is going to be a big factor in why we see more of this over here than you would do like I say, with a stray dog, for example. And I know most people don't purposely not meet needs because they don't want to. It's because sometimes they don't know the best way to do it. So that's why we're going to move on to how can I easily implement that and start meeting my dog's needs in a better way. Right, 5 things that I want you to add in or increase in your dog's lives. You can do it today. It's not going to cost you a fortune. Playing every day with you, not relentless ball chasing, cooperative play with you, foraging, scatter feeding, sniffing, a snuffle mat or a licky mat, some sort of slow feeder that just gives them a little bit of a puzzle. It can be Kongs, things like that. All these things get like a super bad name because I think there's a feeling amongst trainers that people are using Kongs as a replacement for proper enrichment, and I think that can be the case. So filling a Kong and getting your dog to get the food out of it isn't a replacement for enrichment. It's just part of it. But there is also nothing wrong with doing something high arousal like a play game and then giving your dog a stuffed Kong to bring the arousal back down, while still doing a little bit of problem solving and getting the puzzle of getting the food out Sometimes you might need to freeze the food in the Kong to make it a little bit more difficult, a bit more of that licky, soothing type therapeutic behaviour that the dog can do. And then trick training. So in my behaviour plans, I don't do a whole lot of trick training. We might add some bits in that are owner specific, but once you know the format of how you train a dog something new, then the world's your oyster. You can do whatever you want. And like task yourself with trying to learn something. I've got a list of videos of like how to train your dog to spin, sit, down. They might be pointless in everyday life. Like your dog might never use them, but there is value for your dog in working through a problem, having to perform to go earn reward like that. These are dopamine hits. They get the sense of achievement and pleasure from doing things and succeeding. We never make it too difficult so that the dog is just failing all the time. So we want to set them up to succeed if you're implementing trick training as part of your enrichment. But that doesn't mean that they can't, be a bit more resilient and have to go through some frustration to earn their reward and their feeling of doing something well. And then the last one, which is probably the most important, is off-lead freedom. So I would say pavement walks are boring for most dogs. If your dog sniffs a lot on pavement walk, it's probably because they're trying to use that walk as almost a fulfillment and enrichment walk. So they want to sniff, like this is built into them. So they're seizing their opportunity. And if that's a case that you're plodding around the streets and that's the only chance they're going to get sniffed, then they're going to probably take it. And then you've probably got the dog who stops at every lamppost, and that's kind of annoying because you're like, I want to get from A to B, but the dog just stops all the time. And that probably tells you that you're not meeting that need elsewhere. So if you had a dog that was doing some sort of foraging every day, I doubt that they'd be as fussed about sniffing every lamppost unless that was just like a super built-in habit and they were doing it habitually. But then you're in a position where you can change that behaviour because you know that you've fulfilled that need for them. So then you're comfortable in saying, look, come on, let's go. We need to go. And you can't hang around and sniff every lamppost because I haven't got time for this. And I know that you've already had your opportunity to do this sniffing in a more structured way at home. And again, and I'm banging the same drum over and over again, off-lead freedom should not just be ball chucking. So you should not just go to a field with one of those ball chuckers and fling the ball over and over again. Your dog runs backwards and forwards and you go, and then the dog's panting. You're like, jobs are good because you're panting. So you must be tired. That need is fulfilled. You've fulfilled an exercise need, essentially creating somewhat of a dopamine junkie in terms of every time we go out and I come off lead, I just relentlessly chase that ball backwards and forwards. Just repetitive strain on their bodies and your bonding experience. And this again sounds a little bit fluffy, I know, but where is the relationship element of that? Where is the bit where you are the center of the dog's world and all the good stuff comes from you? You are essentially just a ball chucker. Like you can replace yourself with, you can get one of those robots, can't you? It puts the tennis ball in the machine and it just fires the ball, and then the dog learns to put the ball back in the machine. That may as well be you. That's all you bring into the party. I would much rather you do, if you're doing that at the moment, I'd much rather you did like ball retrieves. So get the dog to stay in a sit, and you'll need to use your lead to reinforce it to start with. And the dog has to use a level of impulse control before it can go and get the thing it wants, which is the ball. You throw the ball, dog remains in a sit, find it. Dog shoots off, sniffs around, looks for the thing, the ball, ideally a little bit high grass or something. Don't make it too difficult to start with. There are obviously levels. And then the dog goes and retrieves the ball, brings it back to you. Now we're playing a different game because we're playing it together. The dog's high arousal and having to think in high arousal. So we're using a bit more brain power. So still getting the mileage in, maybe not as much because you're not just relentlessly throwing it, but still doing plenty of high intensity running. But now we're adding a brain element in, so that moves it from just an impulsive, high arousal, repetitive game into a bit more of a puzzle with that high arousal stuff built in. A bit like running up and down with a football with no one else there and just running up and down the pitch on your own versus playing in a structured game. and having to try and actually have an element of skill and thinking and ability. So off-lead walks, super important. Just let the dog be. Like, let them sniff, let them go and say hello to other dogs if they're friendly, friendly other dogs. I sound like I'm an absolute hater of people who take a ball out with them, but again, if we're just taking the ball out and throwing it, the off-lead time that dog gets is just to chase the ball, and I want my dog to, sniff the log that a load of other dogs have walked over, or squirrels or foxes or whatever. I want them to look down the hole that a rabbit's dug. I want them to take in the world. There's so much of this world that they can enjoy and take in just by walking with you in different environments and being like relaxed. People don't do this anymore. Like, we all stick in earphones and listen to a podcast, or are on our phones, messaging or scrolling or whatever when we're taking the dog out, rather than actually just looking at the world around us. And don't do that to your dog as well. You don't have to occupy your dog on a walk. The dog can occupy itself. Like, this is what dog walks are meant to be, is just being in the environment and just relaxing, decompressing, spending some time together. Keep the cues and the recalls and all that stuff to a minimum if you can, and just be together outside. Again, I sound like so fluffy, and I know there's so much value in it, which is why I do this with my dog. There is beauty in just spending time outside together and not having to, do anything else. So try and do it. It'd be good for you, it'd be good for the dog. So we've kind of covered all 5 things there. Probably spent a little bit more time on off-lead freedom and some play stuff. I'm going to put a link to my video on sniffing games for beginners. So super easy sniffing game, hopefully stuff that you've already got in the house that you don't need to go out and buy, and you can do it now. Like, you shouldn't need any kind of precursor, other than you should have done some scatter feeding first. But if you haven't done that before, go outside, do some scatter feeding. Super easy, handful of food, go and chuck some food on the floor and tell your dog to find it. That's where we start. So you can do that now. Play. So I've talked a lot about what not to do in terms of repetitive ball chasing. Things like this, like super simple. I think this was like a $5. Like, games of tug, like proper fight over it. Competition. Dogs love competition the same as we do. Compete with your dog. Give them a good fight for it. When they give it a good rag, they can have it. But then we're going to play again. And the most rewarding part of that for the dog should be the actual play and not securing the toy. Again, don't ask too much of them. Don't have to do sits and all that stuff. Like, people, as soon as they start doing something with their dog, they instantly go to like, sit. Now you can do it. Like, we can do all of that stuff. Like, that's great to get them performing behaviours at high arousal environments. Like, you can definitely implement that at some point. Play is meant to be fun. Like, it's meant to be like silly, just being daft with your dog. So yeah, like games of tug, bit of competition, don't ask anything of them. Best to have them on a lead when you do this. And the reason I say that is, especially if your dog's not used to you opening this window of opportunity to have a play, they might just take the toy and walk off. Let them win it, parade it, and then we go again. And like I say, the most fun part of that game should be the actual play with you. Sometimes you win, sometimes they win. The dog will start bringing the toy back to you, because the best bit of the game is with you and not on their own. So this is what I talk more about, cooperative play. Another one I like to use, especially for dogs who are like quite sight driven, so they like the stalk and the chase, is a flirt pole. So it's like a fishing rod for dogs. This one's been pretty battered. This lengthens out, so you can make this longer, and then you essentially have a fishing rod that you move around. Essentially, you just want to move it around in a circle. Just spin you around in a circle one way, spin yourself around in a circle the other way. And the idea is the dog chases it, grabs it. Again, we do the same thing. So the dog wins the toy. You can have a little game of tug with that, like that. This one's been pretty battered. It's got a squeaker in it. They enjoy that element of it. But again, it's cooperative play. It's with you. Like, we're doing it together. Another one that's like super popular with like my dog, but also dogs I train. Like, my dog's like dissected it. He got it out of my bag. This is like real fur. It's got a squeaker in it again, but it's like, I think that's squirrel fur or rabbit fur. But just that extra like scent element of actual having real fur on it can get them fired up. So he's got that out of my bag, which is why he's torn it up a bit. But all of these toys, they go away when we're not playing with them, and when we get them out, that's the best part of the day, because the toy boxes come out and we're going to have a really good play. Stop the game before the dog's bored. So you should basically be able to leave the game and then be able to pick up where you left off last time, rather than play, and then the dog's like kind of walking off because it's done. Your dog's duration of play in these things will be quite short to begin with if you're not doing it regularly. So like today, do 30 seconds of play, put the toy away. If you can see the dog still wants to do it, you can get the toy back out again, in 10 minutes time, do it again. But do short and sweet sessions, keep the dog wanting more. So we talked a little bit about scatter feeding and foraging, and I mentioned like snuffle mats, or you can get licky mats, slow feeder type things. This is what I've got for my dog. That essentially you just put treats all in this, and he basically needs to shove his nose in there and find all the treats individually. So he's foraging, he's using his sense of smell. There's a problem-solving element. There's different difficulties in that. You don't have to use one of these. So this is a purpose-made like snuffle mat. You can increase the difficulty using towels, cardboard boxes. Just be mindful of like what your dog's habits with stuff like that are. So if you've got a dog that if it sees a plastic bottle that's got some treats in it and it's liable to just swallow the whole plastic bottle, maybe don't do that, and use something that's going to be safer for it to like tear into. If your dog's having problem behaviours, ask first what needs aren't being met. You could save yourself some money because you might not need me, or you might not need the vet. Once you've actually implemented some of these bits and pieces, you might see behaviour improve. All of these are super easy to try. And if your dog enjoys it, then implement it into their daily life. It shouldn't add loads of time every day into your schedule. The results can be game-changing. Like you can really see some big change in behaviour just from adding a few bits into your dog. Because I've gone on about it so much, yes, you can go and play fetch with your dog. I'm not telling everyone to stop playing fetch, but maybe do that one day a week and the rest of the time do some other stuff. If this video gets more than like 20 views, I'd love to hear in the comments what people add in as enrichment activities for their dogs and what they found most popular. Like I say, every dog is different, and there could be some good ones that I've missed off. So we'd love to hear those. And as always, if you've got behaviour problems, dog reactivity, dog doesn't come back when you're called, dog's pulling you down the road, drop me a message on here, go to my website, which will be in the description. Hopefully you found it useful.